Good afternoon and welcome to the African Utility Week studio. My name is Amy Ryan, Deputy Editor of Metering and Smart Energy International, and today I have with me Victoria Cuming, who is the Head of Policy for Africa, the Middle East and Europe at Bloomberg New Energy Finance. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking with us today. Now, Victoria, you will be speaking in a panel around embedded generation within the African context. Can you tell me what the current state of embedded generation is in Africa and where the potential is for growth and development in the continent?
Okay, so first of all, I should probably say what we mean by embedded generation.
Yeah.
So here we mean when an industrial company installs or has another company install a power plant on site. And sometimes they will feed electricity back to the grid, and sometimes it's just for their own use. And we've seen in sub-Saharan Africa so far that embedded generation tends to occur most often for manufacturing firms or mining companies. Generally very energy intensive companies. So for example, in Kenya and Uganda, we've seen a lot of sugar manufacturers install cogeneration facilities, for example, and some mining companies that haven't been able to connect to the grid because the location's very far away. They've installed their own plants as well.
Okay. And then can you tell me what are some of the policies and initiatives facilitating renewable energy and smart energy technologies in Africa?
Specifically with regard to embedded generation, actually it's fairly limited in sub-Saharan Africa so far. Really, we've seen about 4 countries either implement or plan to implement what we call net metering programs.
Okay.
And there are a couple of feed-in tariff schemes or auction schemes that are designed for small power plants that would be eligible for embedded generators. But it's mainly tax incentives. So, for example, import duty exemptions that they qualify for. But it's fairly limited, actually.
Okay. And then how do these policies or measures or initiatives differ from the rest of the world? Perhaps in the Middle East or Europe?
Well, I would say that the actual types of programs that are here in Africa are similar to those found elsewhere in the world, but it's more a question of frequency. So you'll more often find some kind of incentive schemes elsewhere, particularly in Europe. We've seen some in Latin America as well. And Australia also. So, for example, Germany has a grant scheme. So if you install PV, you can also get storage and small plants.
Yeah. Okay. And then, how do you think policies regulating smart energy technologies such as storage, how do you think they should be designed in order to attract investment and buy-in from utilities?
Well, in terms of energy smart technologies, we've seen fairly limited incentive programs in Africa, but also elsewhere that incentivize storage. It's really a question for those wishing to do embedded generation. Say, for example, a mine. They would still. We would expect them still have to, even if they wanted to install a PV plant, let's say, and storage, because PV and storage still isn't dispatchable, you would still need backup, say, diesel generation. So we're just not at the place yet where they can completely replace.
Okay. And then finally, Victoria, what are you looking forward to the most actually at African Utility Week?
Well, I think this is the first year that I'm going to the industry awards, and I was lucky enough to be a judge for a couple of categories. So I'm actually looking forward to see who wins in those categories.
Okay, great. Very specifically, Victoria, where do you think the potential for growth and development for embedded generation is? Where do you find the most potential in Africa?
I would say it's mostly on East and West Africa because there we expect a very robust power demand growth over the next few decades. There's also a lot of outages as well. Retail power prices can be quite high for commercial and industrial, and all of these things and other factors incentivize embedded generation.
Great. Thank you so much. And that's unfortunately all we have time for. Thank you for tuning into the African Utility Week studio. Thank you for watching.